Made it. Live as can be.
Are we in there?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Okay.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Saf in the Middle East. Thank you,
Yes.
all of you people who laid these internet lines under the ocean so I could connect with my friends today. Hello, everyone
you.
with us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone. Good to see you all around the world who are joining us. We're wrapping up 2021. We were together in March of 19, I think, in Israel, February of 19, right as the pandemic was beginning. So we're almost 2 years into the global
Wow,
pandemic now.
that looks like 20 years ago in the
Yeah.
least.
We
Yeah.
are living in historical times, gentlemen. What things that previously took thousands of years now go by in a flash. Why? Bala Sulam, in his notes on the last generation, he wrote that the basis of my whole commentary is the will to receive pleasure. It means that the whole wisdom of Kabbalah, and Kabbalah we know means to receive, reception, is how can we receive more and more fulfillment, more and more pleasure. So, of course, my stomach can only hold so much pleasure. My eyes can only take in so much. So how can I receive endlessly? And that's what the wisdom of Kabbalah is about. And
Whoa, that's what it's about.
That's
Wait
the whole
a
thing.
second. That's what it's about.
And while this force is more dormant inside of me, so I only want to, when I was more of like a caveman guy, I just wanted to eat and procreate. But as this force awakens in me through the generations, and my appetite becomes insatiable, until now I'm endlessly empty. I need endless fulfillment. And then we come to our times, 2021, and that's what we're doing here in the Great Transition. This world that we're in looks chaotic. Our lives look like they're being turned upside down. But imagine if a caterpillar could talk. What kind of concerns would he be having as his caterpillar life was falling apart? Little caterpillar, she doesn't know what awaits her in her butterfly life. And all of the events in the last year, they're coming from nature in order to give us emotional impressions, because unlike the caterpillar, we can speak and we have all of this incredible palette of emotions, passions, feelings, desires. So our spiritual attainment is not to just become an angel with no free choice, but that with our feelings, we actually attain this spirituality. So we can imagine, now we can understand what nature's putting us through, all of these emptinesses. When I enjoy something, a meal, anything, it's because I'm hungry for it first. Caterpillar doesn't have that luxury to feel all of these things that he wants. He's just going through a transformation instinctively. But for us, I start feeling more and more empty. I start feeling more and more lack, all of these fulfillments that I need. And that's on purpose from the side of nature, because we're not just an angel. So there's a developmental force, we call it in the wisdom of Kabbalah, the surrounding light, and it's pressing on us and it's working to transform us. And while we can't receive it inside of ourselves, while we can't calibrate ourselves to it, it feels like suffering, it feels like pressures, it feels like all of these transformation forces pushing us. But when we can take our fate into our hands, we can understand what's happening, we can start processing it, we can start calibrating ourselves to that light that's pushing humanity, then we can go through this transformation comfortably. We leave behind the excess consumption. We leave behind the waste. We leave behind the exploitation, right? This force is pushing us and we're just turning it into something like, extra everything, more just using it in the wrong way, in essence. And that's what we want to do here in the Great Transition is talk about this process we're going through, talk about what nature is doing to us and understand it, not to be like a helpless caterpillar going through a change. The change is inevitable. The change is inevitable. The path to our spiritual fulfillment, to our endless fulfillment, is laid out before us. It's all there. Our good future is waiting for us. We're in a field of endless light. How can we calibrate ourselves? How can we see the transformation we're going through and go through it in a comfortable way together? That's what we're here to do. Welcome, everybody, to the Great Transition. 2 years into the pandemic. We're going through this together. Hello, friends. Good to be together again.
I just went
Right.
down a path. The software. I just
I'm
got taken back to
I
like
yeah, I'm
history.
you know what when he brought up the caterpillar butterfly thing, I just immediately saw a visual in my mind of something we're still in intro mode, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah, we're
still
still in intro mode.
we
By
can
the way,
just
I just rolled
the
out of bed and took a shower for the show. I'm feeling so. I tested negative, but I just
I
feel.
tested negative too. I had a little sniffles, sneezing, runny nose kind of thing. It's almost passed, and like it was a really fast one.
But if I go
But
into
I
like dreamy state or like just start
uh,
talking like without it, like all these filters, that's why it's happening.
If I took a test, it'd be
anyway,
negative too.
so we're all COVID negative. So it just means that we are still, in line to be positive. They're saying Omicron is massively different in terms of infection rate. And some experts I read today are saying it's like you're trying to plug like all the governments are doing. It's like they're trying to just plug, a hole in the boat with their finger, but there's like a whole flood coming. It's just going to be however, it's easier on the body in terms of symptoms, uh, but much more infectious, which is going to be interesting. Put it that way. I just spoke to my mother. Also, was on the phone with her. She doesn't feel too well, and I convinced her to go get tested. Just to, she's older, of course. Anyway, when Seth was talking about the caterpillar butterfly, we all love this example because it's more than an example, really. It's a pattern of evolutionary leap that happens in nature, and it's that's why it's more than an example. It's the pattern of evolution, and it's just beautifully demonstrated in that case of the caterpillar. But there's a specific butterfly. I can't remember how it's called, but I just recently watched. I like nature documentaries, especially ones that our fellow Kabbalah instructors recommend watching. Gil recommend me to watch this one. It's called Our Planet. Um, so there you go. You got some Our
It's on
Planet.
Netflix.
Got some. It's on
Butterflies,
Netflix. Yeah.
special
So you can
butterflies.
go watch it there. Yeah, it's a mini series. It's not a film. It's like so they do each time a different part of the world or something like that. Breathtaking visuals. Breathtaking visuals. Like this is one of the best in terms of the cinematography. It's great, and also it's really great in that they show a lot of examples between the still vegetative and animate, like how all those different levels are coexisting and co-producing and co-contributing and co-creating ecosystems, how it's all one thing. Of course, they don't say that, but they demonstrate it, even if they don't call it that way. You see nature as one single program. Beautiful thing. Go watch it
2021 was
if
a
you don't know
good
it.
movie. It was a good year for documentaries.
I'm not sure this one is actually that recent. I think this one exists already for a couple of years, for maybe 2 years, but it's
Hmm.
it's fairly new. Anyway,
For
so
watching
I
documentaries.
saw so Seth said caterpillar butterfly, and I remember that just a few days ago. I think my wife and I were watching one of the. So I think we're trying to like maybe once a week watch an episode together. So it's both like a like a bonding time for us. And anyway, so I'm looking at this special blue butterfly thing. This is I can't blue feather butterfly, maybe it's called. Anyway, this one has a super unique uh, um, pattern of evolution from caterpillar to butterfly, because when it's a caterpillar, it is carried by ants into their nest, and in the nest, the ants, you know that one, Chris, you know this one, the ants, they're being persuaded somehow by some sort of chemicals that this caterpillar secretes, they're being persuaded to take care of that caterpillar and feed it. And so the ants are contributing to the evolution of the caterpillar, so that it reaches that stage of growth where it can't take in any more energy, any more food, and then it has to evolve to something new. Why am I bringing this up? Because we have no idea how nature is putting us through a process. We are living in a program. That program is way more creative, sophisticated, intelligent, and holistic than anything that our linear, egoistic mind can think of. When we think about a problem we need to solve, nature has no such concept of a problem. When we think about climate change, climate crisis, climate destabilization, there is no crisis from nature's perspective. There is no destabilization. There is climate change is actually a more accurate term. This is actually a correct term. The climate is just changing. Nature is changing. Nature is doing its thing to maintain homeostasis, to maintain life. If we're on the way, then we will feel it in a bad way. If we go with the flow, we'll feel it in a good way. But nature does its thing. And so from that example of how a complex process between different kinds of species leads to this beautiful blue-winged butterfly, and but there's no way in the world you could have told that this is what's going to happen with that caterpillar if you saw a bunch of ants just
like, how are we going to make liquid? Easy. Take two flammable gases and put them together. It's like you can't comprehend
exactly
what nature has in store.
And we're drawn to that too. It's like that interests us. Like, whoa, we like being bewildered, and we like being like taken by surprise of how we just don't know how much, and it like kind of opens you up for a little bit of like it makes you feel like, okay, you see these documentaries. I don't want to have seafood anymore because we're ruining the oceans, or I don't want to eat meat anymore because we're destroying the rainforest. Mm-hmm. And it shows you a little glimpse of like, wow, nature is just working so well. Yes. And I feel so disconnected from it.
How long did that last that you didn't eat meat after you saw the documentary?
Yeah, it doesn't last long, but the impression is really all that matters. You got the impression, and it's like, it's like drugs, I guess. It's cheating.
We're in a superior, highly godly system. That's what we're in. We're in a system that has godly intelligence, which means that it's such an intelligence that doesn't leave any room for mistakes or, things to be not perfect. Everything's perfect from nature's perspective. Everything is perfect.
Is it perfect that I feel sad?
The one thing that is not perfect is our perception. Take it away, man. Take it away. Talk to us about feeling sad. What?
I don't want to talk about it. I someone else should talk about it. They had a better understanding of what Google was trying to tell us. Statistics. There's right. Google provides statistics, and we're just grabbing one of those statistics.
Right. So we're to give us then the statistics. This is a 2021 recap show, right? And our title promised that this was a year of spiritual transformation. How is that possible? How is that possible?
Okay, well, is this happening? So in 2021, there was an increase by 10% of people Googling, querying, you could say, why am I sad? That's a real thing. That people really do that. First of all, that's kind of interesting that people even do that. That's it. That people feel that as a means to express.
If I write that, is that going to screw up how the algorithm feeds me content? I wonder if it'll give me it just gives me drug.
You Googled it just now?
You just try that?
Yeah.
Everyone's going to get something different probably if they Google it. Let's see, I'm interested.
Okay. So 10% rise in this year in 2021.
I'm surprised it's only 10%. I would think it was like 50%. You have Kids
Because
are
2021
uh,
was sad a little bit.
yeah, if you're a kid, you're glued to your phone 24/7. Not, I mean, that in itself is not a problem. Actually, it could be great. Maybe not to be glued to it 24/7, but there's plenty of incredible content like this nature content and being connected to friends, but to be advertised all the time, and obviously that's who's making the content for the kids is advertisers to make money off of them. And we heard even this year that whichever company it was, that they understand that they make the girls suicidal or make them feel upset because they sell them more
Mm.
products and keep them on the platforms more. So to be a kid who's being manipulated by profit interests, it's more valuable, they're worth more economically if they're sad, tied to them.
Mm.
If they're the parents, maybe the parents are out of work. Prices are going up, inflation, stress of the unknown. How am I gonna provide a life for my kids? What am I gonna do for my own health? What am I doing with my parents who are getting older? And then if you're the grandparents, I'm talking about three generations now, like kids, parents, and grandparents. You're the grandparents. You lived your whole life. You have time now, and you can't see your family. Your family doesn't want to come around because they don't want to infect you. And so you hit every generation, and everyone is. I'm really surprised it's only 10% more increase in people saying, "Why am I sad?" Maybe people just didn't Google it. Maybe they just went and got legal weed, or I don't know what they did. Watched more Netflix, or filled themselves somehow.
Or they were so depressed to even type it into Google.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of
yeah.
people who didn't probably. But sad is a really broad. It's a really broad thing. Sad.
Yeah.
It
So what is
touches. It
it? That
talks
was
about
like
a
one of
lot
the
of
top.
things.
That you brought it
But
up because it was like a top Google search or something.
yeah,
What,
you
what,
said rise in Google searches this year. 10% rise, right?
Chris? That's
Yeah,
that's what
10%.
it was like a top. But you brought it up because it was one of the top story. It was one of the top searches on Google or something.
It was just an interesting. It was just an no. It was just an interesting article. It's just
Okay.
people.
Yeah,
People are tracking these things. People are tracking them, and they're seeing,
right.
what's going on. Especially us. We're always looking to see what was this one. What was this one that we did? Happiness. How do I become happy? And remember, there was this
Mm.
project. What was this? The 500
Y55 thing.
Y55, something like that. Yeah, but
Okay.
there was a Google statistic behind it.
Right. There was like some statistic based on some statistics that 55 million people or something like that are looking directly for how can I be happy or
How can I
something
be
like that.
happy or what? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just a
But
thing people are
anyway,
tracking. Yeah.
millions of people are this year, many more millions of people than the year before searched for what was the exact phrase? Why am I sad? Why do I feel sad?
Why do I?
Right?
Yeah. Why do I feel
Why
sad?
do I feel sad? I think that, like you started saying, that by itself is just an interesting phenomenon. I mean, the first of all, there's all that all that breakdown that demographic breakdown that Seth just did that kind of shows, yep, a lot of people have a reason to be more sad than before in 2021. But the fact that we search Google, that we type into Google, why do I feel sad, is very interesting, because you are essentially, yeah, just try to explain this to your grandfather or something, right?
Hmm.
People will be typing, to they'll click, they'll feel what they feel on their own, and then they will type it into this machine to try to find some emotional comfort through this metal and wires.
And it
It's
even
a
auto
very,
completes the sentence for you. It's already gonna
and it,
know.
exactly,
Yeah.
very weird. And then on the other side of it, advertisers will be waiting to try to
Right.
give them
Right.
the
There was
best
the
possible
whenever.
solution.
Yes,
Yeah,
and because you're looking and you're reading, and then halfway through the reading explaining why you're sad, there's a advertisement for buying sunglasses.
right,
That's
right,
a real life example. That'll make you happy.
right. So the thing that I think is positive. That is okay. Let's say positive in about this is that this is a very self-reflective situation, right? When first of all, when you're journaling, or when you have a diary that you write, or when you write your emotions, that makes you very conscious of them. The fact that we have this kind of Google mentality, Google culture, where people type, the stuff they feel into this God search engine that will find them the all-purpose remedy for everything kind of thing, that the search engine, the fact that they write their emotions and look for a response, that's a very reflective situation. It kind of helps, you could say, our consciousness evolve. It helps us be more attentive and
Well,
aware of what we feel and what we lack.
but what are you actually
And we
doing? It's
also
weird.
track it.
Yeah, but
What?
you're basically connecting to somebody else. You're connecting to another something with somebody else had this information and they're making it available to you. Why am I sad? What a
Right.
computer didn't make the answer for
Yeah,
that. It's just connecting you to
computer is
another
just the
person.
connector, just
Right.
the mediator. Yeah.
That's also kind of strange. I mean, cool.
Right. Right.
What I
Um
see in it that's so
uh,
interesting to me is that a caterpillar doesn't do, it's not nice, it's not fun to be sad at all. And I wouldn't choose to be sad. And I wouldn't um, naturally just understand that being sad is part of my spiritual development. But if we look at the caterpillar example, what starts to happen is if we have the books laid out before us, if we have the path laid out before us, then what we can start to see is, what am I sad about? I'm sad that I feel empty,
hmm.
right? I'm sad that I'm unfulfilled, because uh,
Right.
if I
If you
was
were
totally
fulfilled,
fulfilled, I wouldn't
yep.
be. For example, I'm really sad, and then you give me 5 million bucks, and I'm really happy, and then like I'm not one of your statistics anymore. I go on with my life until I don't know what happens. Maybe it's a week, maybe it's 5 years, maybe it's the next lifetime. I become sad again. And then you give me a great partner in life, and then whether it's a week, 5 years, or the next lifetime, I become sad again. But now there's this epidemic of sadness because we can't be fulfilled. We can't. It doesn't matter what kind of feelings we get; they're just temporary, and it's
And if you are typing on your iPhone on Google, why do I feel sad? Most likely you're doing okay on a material level. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're sad because uh you know you you're in a
Don't have a
real
computer.
you're starving to death.
exactly.
Right.
Like, it just shows how much of an emotional thing this is,
So
you
if we
know?
can, if we can, so I'm a little bit. I'm not a masochist in any way. I like to be comfortable, but I'm a little bit, and I wish we had a way that we can go through this more comfortably. But in a sense, it is kind of encouraging that people are feeling sad. Why? From the side
Why?
of spirituality.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I'm encouraged by it. There's a process in spirituality, this like kind of recognition of my true state that comes before I reach spiritual attainment. There has to be this recognition of my state, otherwise I don't want it, right? Like a
Right.
5-year-old doesn't have an inclination to want to find a partner, a lover, right? But once a person becomes mature and those new desires blossom, then I want it. So now we didn't have these desires for this fulfillment, and now this emptiness is blossoming. These new desires are blossoming in me, and it's great in the sense that if we can see what's if in the through the lens of our spiritual transformation, it's a sign that we're moving beyond the material, our material
Mhm.
development. We need some fulfillment that gonna disagree with me? What was that? What was
No,
that?
no.
I'm starting to you have like three
You're,
different inhales that you
you
do that
know
I
my
know
you know
where
my
it's going.
inhales. You know my facial expression when something when something's
It's like
happening.
or it's like
When you're
yep.
okay, this is the point. This is the point in my ongoing conversation with my wife. We talk a lot about the purpose of suffering, meaning I talk about it and she she doesn't have a choice. So she listens, and the constant back and forth between us is her going, yeah, but did it really have to happen with all, does it really have to go through all that suffering? Do we really, can't we just do, have the good part, just the good part, happy, happy, joy, joy? We can't we just all be happy, 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 and that's it, just happy all the time? And I'm like, but nature has a plan, and there's a higher thought here, and we need to evolve. Yeah, but can it just be just fun, just all the time, just fun, fun, fun? That's basically our so what would you respond to that? Let's respond
No,
to
I'm with
that.
her on that. I'm totally with her on
Okay,
that.
yeah,
I
so
want
you're
it
not
to be
so
fun and good all of the
Somebody,
time. I'm not
if
like, no, you need to suffer, son. You know, in order for you to
if you're
appreciate
disagreeing,
things.
then you're probably not right in the head, you know? No,
right.
I prefer to suffer.
Mm,
I don't think so.
hmm.
No, that's horrible. You can't say that to somebody. That it really
Right.
requires a different. That's like very old fashioned. No, you need to suffer first in order for you to. No, it's if what we need is not a look backwards, to some kind of ethical, moralistic worldview. We need to look forward to spirituality to understand what is that doing to us and
Hmm.
to reframe it into something. If I wanted to reframe it into understanding what those feelings are that I'm feeling, those feelings that I called suffering before, it's not suffering now when I understand that my desire for spirituality, my desire for a new world, my desire for a world full of love, my desire for a world where everyone can be fulfilled. Um, that's that's what I'm yearning for. That's what this emptiness that's developing in me from the side of nature is for. If we can see it from that perspective, it takes on a different um, meaning. Can I jump because I
Yeah,
wanted to
let's
go?
jump. Let's
Okay,
jump.
okay.
Let's jump
So I
right
want to
here.
because it's a totally different angle, and it seems very very corporeal, very very material. But I want to do a flip on it and also relate. What excites me about these conversations is taking things that we see going on outside and seeing how it's pulling back the curtain. Um, Something that's making people really annoyed right now where I live in New York. So there's like 3,000 new COVID cases a week, and last
Hmm.
week it was like 20,000 new COVID cases. So along with this jump in cases, there's now a private sector vaccine mandate, meaning um, if you own a coffee shop or work in a
Yeah.
coffee shop or a sneaker store or a skateboard store or anything,
Hmm.
you need to be vaccinated. Every business in New York now needs to
Hmm.
be uh, vaccinated. Um,
So
I
this
think
is all of New York.
all
This
New York
this.
City, yeah, it's a
Hmm.
couple 100,000 businesses, and all the employees need to be vaccinated. And anyone 12 and older must show proof of vaccination to go buy a hamburger, to go to a movie,
Mm.
to do anything. So that's this.
And that's like a new thing now due to the
Yeah,
massive spread.
vaccine
Okay.
mandates in New York City. Um, so and it's helping. I mean, I think what's for whatever reason, whatever their agenda is, it's helping to get more people vaccinated, whether
Hmm.
or not, you know, is 4 vaccines enough? What are you all up to now over
We're
there
we're
in
we're
Israel?
uh we're testing out the fourth.
Discussing the fourth.
discussing the fourth, but you already all have 3, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And is it stopping the vaccine? I mean, is it
Stopping?
stopping the virus?
It depends. The common understanding is that it lowers the symptoms. If there's a new variant like Omicron, now they're finding it doesn't if you're vaccinated, you're still gonna get infected by this new variant.
Okay.
But a lot of antibodies in your body might help the symptoms, be not as extreme.
I mean,
that's kind of what's the
if they want less
what's
people in the hospital, then they're doing I guess the right thing. I mean, New York had a bad situation with overcrowded hospitals before. So if the symptoms are not as severe, then you're kind of preventing people from flooding.
Okay, so I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of whether vaccines are good or bad, but I just want to say that there is some force that is pushing this on the population, and what it means for a person and their emotions is that it becomes more and more difficult for me to operate my business, but businesses like Amazon, giant corporations, just keep becoming more and more valuable, bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So on the one hand, if I have a shoe store, a coffee shop, I work, in a little bodega selling whatever, it becomes more and more difficult for me to be able to support myself and support my family. But if I work for, or if I am one of the giant corporations, we're doing, we just keep getting richer and richer and more and more billions every year. So is it possible to be able to support myself without working for a giant global corporation? And so I'm interested in this in terms of also the spiritual transformation that's taking place within humanity. Like, what is nature? Take the Bezoses out of there, take the Pfizers out of there, take these puppets. People get very upset about Donald Trump, or what's the guy's name at Pfizer, or Jeff Bezos, or to us, we look at them just as characters, puppets in a sense on the world stage, because they're also controlled by nature. Probably the richer you are, the more you're controlled, because you have less. You're always going to preserve your wealth. You're not going to ever choose something that will degrade that. So you have less and less freedom of movement. But it's interesting to see what kind of transformation is happening, how nature is moving. So if we can try, everybody, to look at everything that's going on now, forget about whether we're pro-vax, anti-vax, whether they're BSing us, we need it, we don't need it. Let's get beyond all that, and let's just see what's actually just happening. Right? Why did a tsunami come? Okay, we can debate it, but a tsunami came, right? And now there's things that are happening. So whether or not the vaccines are wholesome, or someone has a profit motive, or the governments are trying to control, there is a change that's happening. And if nature intended some other change, then we would be seeing something else. This is the transformation that nature, with its endless wisdom, is pushing humanity through. Where is the spiritual transformation in all this? What can we see behind all this? Okay, well, that's my question.
I would say that, I think it's a heavy one. When we're looking at what we went through this year, and with this bit of news that you just said about the mandate thing, there's definitely a situation where this COVID is not going away, right? It's not going away. We're being forced by this situation, by the natural system that has orchestrated this COVID situation. We're being forced to learn how to live with it, as a society, as a government, and as individuals. It's something that we have to contend with, that we have to cope with, that we have to live with. And I think that is something that's very different, and you could say new in 2021, because the first year, let's say 2020, most of our thinking was probably when do we just get rid of it and go back to normal? When can we just go back? Is it done already? Okay, vaccine. Okay, we'll do the vaccine. Okay, we have a
We had
vaccine.
over here,
Great,
excuse
great.
me,
Can we?
we had here 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Yeah,
That's 2 years ago. That's what they said.
remember all these predictions in the beginning. Yeah, it's got 2 months. By the winter, it's done. By the summer, it's done. Whatever, all kinds of, there was there was this mentality. You could have hear it in the words of your leaders and even your medical experts, and the collective kind of psyche was, let's get rid of this thing, put it aside, move past that, and go back to our life. Go back to the familiar, normal life that we're used to. Now, it's not going away. It's going away, but it's coming back. It's coming back, but it's more infectious. It's now it's the kids. Now it's the elderly. Now we need another mandate. Yes, masks. No masks. This thing is wearing us down, and the thought is beginning to change because of the continue consistency of the situation. I think our mindset is starting to move towards, from let's get rid of it to, okay, how can we live with it? And when you
say
have
that, and you're way too calm when you say that.
So how should it be then?
It should be, because
No,
it's a lot scarier than that. It's like, okay, yeah, we'll live with it, no big deal, but it actually is a big deal.
No. It's how can we? It's the understand. I'm putting the emphasis on the realization that this thing is not going away quickly, at least, and we have to cope with it. When you accept something as being there,
But hold on, this is what I want. This is what I
you
want.
have to understand that you need to change yourself.
This is
And
what I
you
want to
don't
squeeze
want
out
to-
of you, though.
Yeah.
Hold
Okay.
on. What we talked about with what the caterpillar does not have to his advantage or her advantage is that the caterpillar cannot reflect on her feelings and all the transformation she's going through.
Mm,
Okay, so right now,
yes, exactly.
I may not like the government's kind of authoritarian control over me, specifically if I lived in Australia or something and they came and put me in a
Sure.
camp or
Yeah.
something like that. Or I may not like the government's control over me. If someone wanted to be vaxxed, cool. Even I may have a vax, cool. But you're going to come shut my business down because I don't agree with your policy, right? Government didn't tell me to stop being obese. Government didn't tell me to go for a walk. Government didn't tell me to take zinc and vitamin C and vitamin D. They just said, take my for-profit medicine. And again, I'm not talking about pro-vax or anti-vax. I'm just saying that there's a lot of emotions charged into this process of transformation, and you're talking about it a little bit devoid of emotions. You're talking about it in a very sterile way, actually there's a plumber that I know. And he went to medical school to be a heart surgeon. His dad was a surgeon. He's from Hungary. And he went to
Wait,
medical school.
that's really interesting. A plumber that became a medical surgeon?
No. He was,
Did you-
his dad was a doctor and he went to school to be a heart surgeon, to be a heart surgeon. But he went the first time that they had to do the,
So he's not an actual plumber.
he's a plumber now. When they went to do the, and he's
Different kind of
amazing.
plumber.
He works with his hands. He builds so many incredible things, but he couldn't, when they did the autopsy, the first whatever it was, when they worked on the human body in medical school, he
Yeah.
couldn't do it emotionally. He
Oh.
couldn't do it, and so he ended up becoming a plumber. He's
The
incredible
dissection or
hands. He
something.
could have
Well,
been an amazing surgeon. He just emotionally couldn't bring himself to do it, and so
Similar
you're talking-
work, if you think about it. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
but many times because of your advanced state, you speak of these things in a like a trained surgeon who just heart surgeon. You just go in, you know what needs to be done, and you do it. But I want to bring you into the emotions, because the emotion of what's going on is if we miss that, then we miss the kind of the reward in all of this process and why we need to go through it. So I just don't want to miss. You're telling it from the place of the mind, but I want to drag you back into the heart a little bit more. And if you can
Mhm.
talk about that process, but also talk about it from, that the feelings a little bit more.
I think it's all about feelings. It's all about feelings. We have, that's exactly what we need to develop here. This whole process we're going through is the natural system is working to make us more sensitive, not to make us smarter or to learn about how to flatten the curve or something like that. Nature is working to build a new sense within us. What I was going for earlier, what I was trying to get at is that we are now being forced to take nature into account. The next meaning, if you're, like you said, if you're a business, if you're a government, if you're an individual, if you want to just go and visit your grandma, whatever it is, you have a problem now. You have to also take COVID into account. Let's just say, let's call it in general, you have to take nature into account. That is kind of what has happened to our mindset in the last year, I would say. The next stage, though, the next phase of this is that we begin to take into account where nature wants to take us. What is it that nature is really about? And how does it relate to us as human beings? What kind of new sensitivity, new kind of sensibility is nature trying to develop within us as a society and as individuals? And here, with the help of the Kabbalistic sages, we can see that we are we're being pushed, we're being invited to feel each other in a different way, as a single system. That is the thing that we are missing emotionally.
Explain that a little more.
It's a very emotional thing.
Some virus comes and some government is issuing mandates, and you're saying that behind the scenes, this is nature trying to make us all feel each other more?
Yes, exactly that. Because nature, what is nature doing? What is evolution all about?
So let me use the example of the caterpillar and the ants before. So we can even say that, for example, all of those ants you talked about with the blue butterfly carry the caterpillar into some place, and they feed it with things and whatever. I'm going to say that's maybe these Pfizers and governments are like the ants, and they're carrying us to a place. Like, we don't really understand what's going on and why it's going on, but we can't just roll over and just say, government, do whatever you want with me. That's also not right? There has to be these two kind of forces working together in there as well.
We have to bring these two things together. Humanity, which is politics, governments, mandates, vaccines, people talking, the media, the news, all that human stuff, right? And then you have the nature stuff, right? Nature, it's all the still vegetative inanimate. This is where the point that we need to bring together. I don't know if we can do it fast, but we might. But let's try. Okay, when you look at think about those millions of fish that swim together, right? And we've all seen that. I'm really influenced by these documentaries recently. I love nature documentaries, especially if the cinematography is great. Anyway, so you see those. There's millions, literally millions of fish. How is it possible? How is it possible that they are moving together like they do? How is it possible? The answer is simple. They're not individual fish. They look to us like individual things, but they are operated, they are governed, they are activated by one program. And then you go and you say, okay, so that's a school of fish. You can also see it in a flock of birds or in a colony of ants. Okay, but the dust that comes from the desert is actually, nutrients for the little tiny microscopic creatures in the sea. And everything that, and so on and so forth. I don't want to take all the time for that. You're living in a giant program, right? What is us? what is the human? Are we outside the program? What is happening here? So we are the only consciousness of the program. That's the one thing that makes us unique. We are as if outside this program and can look at it. The fish and the ants and the still and the vegetative and the animate and the mountains and the planets and everything, they're part of the program. They're embodying the program. We can look at it and learn it, study it. Yeah, go ahead.
When you have all those fish swimming in a circle, all those small fish swimming in a circle like that, it's as if, one fish is a little bit smaller than the other fish, and one fish is stronger than the other fish, but they all swim together. It's as if all of a sudden, all of those fish became aware, and this guy's like, well, you know what? I'm a little bit smaller. Why don't I just move over here? And the bigger one's like, I'm going to take care of this. And it's like if all of a sudden each fish became conscious of his qualities and said, you know what? For 3 generations, I always swam on the outside and protected you, and I need a little rest now. I'm going to go here, and
sound like consciousness equals ego.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yes,
and you can,
yes.
So, but it's critical for us because we won't be fish. We're not, like we said in the intro, we're not to be angels. We're not to be just fish. So the problem. And I want to get back to this vaccine thing about
we will
the feelings about it. But if we're these fish and all of a sudden we become conscious, like, wait a sec, I'm doing most of the swimming here, or the birds that flying like this, it's like, hold on a sec, guys, the last 10 flights we did, I'm up front most of the time. Like, it's hard work, maybe one of you're just kind of hanging out at the back. Maybe you could come up here and do a little bit of the hard work. It's like all of a sudden that's what's happening in humanity. Everyone's kind of vying for their position against everyone else all of the time. If I got some cool watch or some cool sneakers, but I lived on a desert island, I wouldn't really care.
Sure.
But if I get something and I can go outside and people can see it on me, then I feel pleasure. There's really not a lot of pleasure to have something nice and nobody else in the world can see it. There's also a certain pleasure that we get by knowing that
yeah, and by the way, the whole corporate world, marketing world, business world, everyone's aware of it, and everyone's that we were just I was just having this conversation yesterday about how this is a known thing that every product like Coca-Cola, right? They put 70% or something like that into their marketing budget, right? So it doesn't cost that much to make this Coke, that you're drinking. What costs and where all the energy and the brain power and money is going is in keeping that in your brain all the time, just keeping that brand alive, that you will be attached to it and think about it all day, and you want to get it and have it in your home and have it, that's where 70% is going. So why did we go there?
Well, so here's the thing with the fish. If we are unconscious like fish, then we're just fish from a million years ago to today. Not tons of transformation. Humanity is going through tons of transformation. Why? Because we became conscious. But the issue is, right, so we are conscious. And we're like, hey, hold on a second. I don't just need to be the front bird, or maybe I can have one of the weaker birds. I can.
Oh, right. That's where we got
the weaker birds to go.
You were talking about the social engineering aspect of it. Yeah, that's why.
What you said was that we became conscious, but becoming conscious is only, you said we're the one conscious piece. The quality of becoming consciousness is one thing, but the wisdom of what I do once I become conscious and how to arrange.
Yes, we are the one conscious part that can look at the program as if from outside, but it's a process. Consciousness too has to evolve. And so what's happening to us now with COVID, with natural disasters, and again, look back at 2021, you see that new places suffered these extreme heat waves, new areas experienced floods. This understanding that we have to start taking nature into account, thanks to COVID and to natural disasters in 2021, thanks to COVID not going away, especially, it is becoming something in the collective human psyche. Our consciousness is getting used to the idea through these events, through these viruses and so on. We are getting used to the idea that we have to take this program into account, because our consciousness is gradually developing to embrace the program. But we have to take part in that. It can't just
do
happen
a breakdown here.
to
Do a
us.
breakdown here. The
All right.
fish don't have free will, or the birds don't have free will, right?
Fish don't have the level of
Consciousness of the
that
system,
we're
right?
talking about.
Okay,
Yes,
so
they're part of the program. They're embodying the program. They can't see that they're part of the program. Yes. Okay.
So we don't yet feel that. So we became conscious, okay, but we don't feel the program instinctually. We feel things, but we don't know, okay, now make a left, now make a right. You know, it's better to eat this food, not that food. This one will make you sick. This one, because, right, Coca-Cola may not instinctually, according to my program, be the best thing for me, but because I've got 70% of that budget on my head, that's what makes me drink it, right? Not because my body knows in the forest, eat that berry and don't eat that berry. In fact, maybe I should be eating that berry, but because I'm getting billions of dollars of advertising, I end up eating that berry. So there's a few steps here. One is I'm a fish, right, with no consciousness of the system. Next thing is I become aware of myself, but I'm detached from
Yes, and that is necessary. That is necessary.
What do I gain? So what do I gain from that? So let's just call it phases. The first phase is I'm the fish, no consciousness. The second phase, I'm becoming conscious, right? What do I gain by that?
It has to manifest in a sense of conscious separation from the rest of nature, from the rest of reality. You gain independence. You gain self-awareness. You gain a higher observation point. Now you can look at the system from outside. So that program of nature pushed us out of its womb, so to speak. It gave birth to a consciousness that is beyond the material embodiment of the program itself. That is the human.
Now I'm the fit.
Today in 2021, we're beginning to see that we were pushed out by this program, that there is some program we need to cope with.
Something I'm not getting, something I'm disconnected from, something is that something isn't adding up, it's not lined up.
There's something to take into account here. What are we missing on?
Yeah.
Yes. And that program, look, everyone can tell you, every scientist and every world leader and every common person, anyone can tell you, we just don't think about it. It evades our modern thinking, but everyone can tell you, nature is greater than us. It created us. We are subject to its laws. That program designs us, not the other way around. What does this program want from us is what Kabbalists are researching in an empirical, rigorous way. What is it that this program wants from human consciousness? And that's what gives you insight into what's happening today, Kabbalistically.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so that's what. So it's as if that those are. It's like we know that those are the questions that we should be asking. There's some kind of program, and there's a lot of scientists that are into that. Now I want to go. I want to talk about something for a couple of minutes. Also in 2021, what happened was they launched this James Webb Telescope. Space telescope, super expensive, $10 billion. Okay, if you want to compare that to other things, it's not that expensive, but really what's interesting is that now they have the capabilities technologically to look to the initial galaxies and how these galaxies were formed and how these stars were formed and how planets were formed, and they're hoping to get some kind of insight into how they were formed. And if you can understand how they were formed, I mean, you have to go kind of into the psyche of the scientists. How were they formed? Okay, if we know how they were formed, then maybe it'll get us a little bit closer to why they were formed. Why does this exist in the first place? So scientists really aren't just, it's kind of like going back a few shows that we had that science has been corrupted. It's not just about pluses and minuses. There's this consciousness element in here that we've kind of this dogma where scientists are kind of now criticized for trying to include consciousness into their theories and into how they build the reality that they see and how they explain it and how they document it. But when you have scientists spending this much money and I don't know, a few thousand scientists from 26 different countries, and they all have this huge project the project that started in 1996, and they're trying to really get this thing together. Everyone's biting their nails, and it's like they're so apprehensive when it's going up. They don't want to lose their life's work and all this stuff. So there's a lot of investment in it. And what are they ultimately trying to do? They're trying to understand what are we? Where do we come from? What is this program that we live in? Maybe we can get some more information. And what's funny about it is that they're looking so far in the opposite direction. You have everyone here on this planet, and they're saying, you know what? We're going to get the answers if we look actually this way, and just
Super
as far as we can.
It's a beautiful situation from a Kabbalistic perspective. It's a very reflective thing for us to do. We are putting so much effort, so much money, years. This is what 3 decades now. People are working on this, right? Something like that. Billions of dollars. The brilliant minds and everything to do what? To look outside as far as we can to get answers on what is our origin and where did we come from and where are we headed. But really, if we made just a micro millimeter of this micro percent, what's a better word for it? Anyway, like a really small percentage of that effort would just go in the opposite direction.
But hold on, it's very cavalier of you to say this. I always catch you up on this.
Okay.
Okay. What you spend $10 billion if you'd only make a micro percent to look inside. No, yes. I want to make a micro percent to look inside. And I'm sure a lot of people do. So you can't be so cavalier about that. What does it mean? Like how did Bala Sulam, for example, explain how the earth was formed without the James Wood that's called James Wood?
James Webb.
Yeah.
How did Bala Sulam, without the James Webb telescope, explain to us how the Earth was formed?
Or how Nachmanides explained the Big Bang or anything else? Sure.
How did these Kabbalists explain astrological, cosmological phenomenon? Right? They could explain everything in the workings of the body, all of the organs, all of the planets, all of the solar system, in the universe because of what you're talking about, because of going in, because everything is like that matrix hologram.
Matrix.
Initial blueprint. I did that for you. Initial blueprint. Everything comes
for all those who ask themselves, we will do an episode about
it's coming.
We should
based on that, but it's just too cavalier to say, oh well, if you just look inside a little bit. I mean, come on.
You're right. We're among Kabbalists. We're talking in the forces of nature, just as they work on the still vegetative and animate level, they work within our minds and hearts. We have direct access to explore these forces of nature, and we're just not paying attention. That's really what it's about. We're just not paying attention. That's all it is. And if going back to the Coca-Cola example, if we started to inspire each other about that, direct our attention to that, and here too, I will say, and put just a tiny effort of the same kind of resources that we put into getting us to be attentive to Coca-Cola, if we were to create, to inspire the culture to look into ourselves, into our mind and heart, even just that. What are you thinking about? What do you want from life? That's it. Very simple. What are your desires? What do you want? What do you really want? And what are your thoughts about it? Just that initial direction would already put us on a whole different level. This is why the Google searches are interesting, because people are beginning to take note of what they're thinking and what they're feeling. We've created a culture that detaches us from our internality. Kabbalists tell us the internality is where everything's happening, where you have direct access to the whole system of nature, to the whole program. That's where you can really explore it. More specifically, if we pay attention to how we relate to each other, then like those little fish, we can begin to find the collective mind that ties us together, that binds us together. That's the difference between the fish and the human. The fish are governed by a single mind, the mind of nature. They can't feel it. They just act, play out the program. We don't feel like we're operated by a single mind, but that enables us to independently begin to discover it, tap into it, and live life on a completely different level of existence.
So
that's why COVID's happening. That's what's happening in the world. That's why 2021 is a year that nudged us, pushed us a little bit further into a new mindset, a new level of consciousness.
Exactly. So if we're gonna say, so if this is a show of like summarizing 2021, then that's what we would say. We would say, great, another year. Okay, yeah, it's the fourth digit on the calendar flipped over, but really there was just kind of this this accumulation, a little bit more of an accumulation, or a little bit more understanding of this program that we're in, that we need to understand that we're inside of it and where to look for access to it, if we're already talking about the Matrix a little bit.
Yeah. Seth, you want to say a word? I see we're hitting our last few miles here.
What my takeaway is, there's two simultaneous processes going on. One is the nature's pressure on us to make us feel. And our work is not to erase those feelings, the feelings of sadness, the feelings of emptiness, the feelings of wanting something more. Without that, we would just go back to being fish. So on the one hand, we almost need to protect those feelings that we're getting, these feelings of discontent, these feelings that something's wrong, these feelings that something could be better, these feelings of emptiness on the one hand. On the other hand, to connect more and more and more to the source of that upper light, to the program, to the sources that explain to us how to arrange ourselves so that we can fill it with spiritual fulfillment. And in order, the kind of the trick, which remains to be discovered, is that the vessel in which that spiritual light can dwell in humanity will be the good connection among all of humanity, the good human connections between all of us. And so it'll turn out that actually coming to this good relations between all of us will finally be how that spiritual light will dwell with us, and will finally be how we'll make that transformation. So hold on, 2022 is
here we come.
If we were a TV show, we would be renewed. The problems are not going away. We're going to see all kind of changes coming up in the new year too, but we're going to be here together, understanding how we are going through this spiritual transformation together. We are living in historic times. You, everyone listening to this, are the vanguard of humanity, going through as the tip of the arrow as humanity moves from, cave people through all of our history, and now we've reached the end of our material development, and now we're beginning the process we're called the last generation. It's the highest peak, and we're on our way into spiritual development for all of humanity.
Yes. Wow. This process is about processing. It's about processing what nature wants from us. We are discovering the program that activates us. How unbelievable is that? We have received, the people who are here, the people who are listening to this, the people who feel something from the Kabbalistic wisdom, they feel an invitation. It's an invitation from the actual source of life itself, the source program of nature is calling upon us humans to come and embrace it and learn what it's actually doing, what it actually wants from us. That is the higher thought that created us. We are living in it, and we are developing to embrace it and to feel it, to be partners with it. That's what nature wants from the human. And the people who are here, who feel something from that higher level of development, we are the pioneers. We are the trailblazers. We are the newly connected conscious brain of humanity that is gradually forming, like how the brain forms in an embryo that is about to be born. That is what is happening. That is what Kabbalists are helping us to achieve, and hopefully we're making some,
and it's exciting,
baby steps towards
exciting
that. Yeah.
Yep, let's do it. Until next time.
Yeah, see you next Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Bye, everybody.
Masked up, gotta block the call. Masking up my heart from egoistic thoughts. Learning all the lessons that this pressure gave us. Wanna save myself, I gotta save my neighbors. Slowly recognizing egoistic nature. Showing us connection is the only savior. We gon' come together, plow these fields of hatred. All is one with sowing seeds of love relations.
To shatter these walls, unsettle this heart from the chains of time. Then we soar through oceans in the sky. Oh, through your cold, to be in love with you, watch you with a bird's eye. See the world is filled with you.
Just to run in a field that is blessed, then to come home with you and rest. Just to hunt in a field that is blessed, then to come home with you and rest.
Only love can save us. Viruses, the hatred, unity gon' vaccinate us. True immunity from all the things that separate us. Everything is only for the good, it's all to change us. Yeah, so with tears and we reaping joy. Ego is the evil seeking to destroy. Education covering the hate with love. Revelation blessings raining from above.